20. We'll see where this goes. Last week we talked about David's fall with Bathsheba, and kind of like the one blemish on David's whole reign as a king. And this week I want to hone in. It's after the prophet Nathan kind of calls David out for what he did, and just as punishment was sick, and David began to fast and hey, what's going on, people? I'm doing it a little bit early today, but it's time for the word of the day Wednesday. Come on, somebody. Going through the story of David as usual. I think I'm close to part 20. We'll see where this goes. Last week we talked about David's fall with Bathsheba, and kind of like the one blemish on David's whole reign as a king. And this week I want to hone in. It's after the prophet Nathan kind of calls David out for what he did, and just as punishment, the child that they bore actually was sick, and David began to fast and weep and pray. And one of the verses, it talks about David just like lying on the ground, and man, crying and weeping and all this stuff. But I want to focus in on chapter 12, verse 20. It says, "Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his clothes. And he went into the house of the Lord and worshiped." And, you have to have those times of mourning, right? When something, happens in your life, or something happens to somebody that you love, or whatever the case may be. There's sad moments that we go through. And I feel like too many times we try to hold it together and try to never let them see you sweat. Got that from Nelly from back in the day in middle school, right? But, that's where things kind of break down, and it's hard to try to keep that up. And so you got to have those times where, man, it's just, man, you cry, like real men cry. If you're trying to, man, hold in tears, you're going through a hard, season, man, you're not getting the healing that you need. There's actually healing that comes through your tears. And so we see David break down, and he's given us a really great example. Instead of him trying to white knuckle his way through this very hard time, and he actually caused this. That's really hard when the trouble that you're facing, you actually caused it to happen, right? And so he breaks down. But what I want to focus on is that he gets back up, right? It says, "Then David arose from the earth, washed and anointed himself and changed his clothes," right? And you see, it's okay to mourn, but here's the deal. If you stay in mourning, you'll never see the morning, okay? It's a little play on words, but you can't just stay there. You have to compose yourself. I heard a powerful message by Mekon Carter that just talks about, man, you got to allow yourself to break, but then you have to compose yourself. You have to allow yourself to break. If you're going through something and you're facing a loss or whatever the case may be, allow yourself to experience that emotion. Allow yourself to break. But you can't stay there. You have to compose yourself, right? And so it's just like, whatever that means, like wash your face off, like get into worship, like throw on some worship music, change your clothes, just change, the scenery, like whatever is keeping you stuck in mourning. And that's what David did, And so, man, I really want to encourage you guys with that. If you're going through a hard time, man, that's okay. If you're mourning right now, man, that's okay. There's a season for that. But it's also a season for you to get back up on the horse. There's also a season for you to turn things around. There's also a season for you to wash your face. There's also a season for you to anoint yourself, to get into, man, worship. There's also a season for you to change your clothes, just like David. And, I could imagine if he stayed there, this would have been the end of David's story. But luckily, we're right here in the middle because, man, he turned things around. He arose. He got back up. So that's what I want to encourage you guys with. If you're going through a hard time right now, It's time to get back up. God bless you. Have a great day. Come on out to our Christmas services this Sunday.